Tonight on Dispatches, how has Tesco become so powerful? Is it just by giving people what they want, or has Britain's biggest retailer become a corporate bully?
We're going to wake up in the not too distant future and we'll be living in Tesco land.
It's Britain's favourite supermarket.
Tesco store manager have asked us to move on.
But is the public's love affair with Tesco beginning to sour? We'll discover why some people are turning against Tesco.
You're not interested in being a good neighbour. The only thing your company is interested in is making money.
How local councillors feel bullied.
Tesco's are far more predatory and aggressive than anyone else that I have ever dealt with in 25 years as a member of a council.
How MPs feel pressurised.
Because I made my opposition public, they attacked me.
They're very successful at dealing with critics.
And we'll examine how Tesco's Caribbean connection helps to avoid tax. But our investigation starts in a far less exotic location. I'm on my way to Stockport near Manchester to hear one example of how Tesco can behave. Tesco's critics say the company has sometimes ridden roughshod over planning rules, and that Stockport provides the perfect illustration. Tonight, the local council planning committee must decide whether or not to make Tesco demolish a brand new store.
They've just completely flouted the planning laws of this council. But personally, I think they should have been shot for it. I don't know about anything else.
They've led the council a bit of a dance, really, and I think this is a tactic Tesco uses.
Back in 2003, Tesco wanted to build a new supermarket in a deprived area with high unemployment. It was called a regeneration store and promised 500 new jobs. The council was worried about road safety and the impact the new store might have on local businesses. So it granted planning permission for a store no larger than 9,500 square metres. But the store Tesco actually built was almost 20% larger than the planning permission allowed. Tesco applied for retrospective planning permission for the oversized store. The Stockport councillors faced a dilemma. One option was to order the store to be demolished.
If you pull down a store of this size, all those 500 people that currently work there, a lot of them that were long-term and unemployed, lose their jobs again. Now, could you sleep at night if you take away jobs like that? I don't think so. Your conscience weighs against that.
They are so powerful. This is just a little northern council. Councillors just doing the best in difficult circumstances, and Stockport Council should never have been put in this situation.
The planning committee felt it had little choice. Councillors decided to let the building stand on condition that Tesco kept the extra 20% empty.
The committee were pretty, can I say pissed off? I can, can't I? And I am doing, with Tesco. Tesco's getting like, if you like, a communist state. You're born, you live, and you die at Tesco's.
Tesco declined our request for an interview. Instead, it told us in writing that Stockport is an isolated incident. So just how did a grocer become so powerful? 15 million people a week go to Tesco. It has consistently attracted increasing numbers of shoppers, giving customers what they want at prices they are happy to pay. Tesco is Britain's largest grocer by a mile and has now become the biggest non-food retailer as well. In 2 out of every 3 of Britain's postcode areas, Tesco sells more groceries than anyone else. But now some people feel it has become too successful, too powerful, too big.
You turn your back for a minute and there's a Tesco Metro, a Tesco Extra, another Tesco's supermarket. Their rate of expansion seems to outstrip almost anything else in the British economy.
Tesco's extraordinary rise from poor relation to retail giant can be traced back to the early 1990s. The Conservatives had been in power for more than a decade. Sainsbury had been Britain's biggest supermarket for as long as anyone could remember. But there was a mood for change. People wanted something different. So two ambitious men set about modernising two very different organisations to capture that spirit of change. Meet Tony Blair of Labour and Terry Leahy of Tesco.
Terry Leahy was put on the main board of Tesco. His department, the marketing department, really became the centre, the heartbeat of the Tesco business. The rest, I think, is history.
Just as Terry Leahy was rebranding Tesco, Neil Lawson was working for Gordon Brown, helping to rebrand New Labour. After the 1997 election, Lawson set up a lobbying company. One of his clients was Tesco.
It was a company that was kind of, way down the pecking order in the retail sector, that pulled itself up by its bootstraps and modernised and changed itself, and old Tesco's became new Tesco's and became the leader of the pack. New Labour saw in them an example of what they wanted to do as they shifted from old Labour to New Labour.
In 1995, New Tesco nudged Sainsbury's off the top spot. 2 years later, Tony Blair celebrated his first landslide victory to become boss of UK plc. And Terry Leahy was appointed chief executive of Tesco plc. His company became one of New Labour's favourite businesses. Its low prices helped keep inflation down, and as Britain's largest private employer, it created jobs.
New Labour knew that manufacturing was dying. They knew that they couldn't do much about that. They knew that the service sector was the place in which the economy and UK plc would thrive. So actually it's always been very easy for Tesco's to develop their relationship with New Labour and the government, because it's a relationship that New Labour and the government wanted. The door was always open.
And Tesco apparently wanted to make the most of this open door. So it hired a number of people with connections to Number 10. Lucy Neville-Rolfe was a high-flying Whitehall mandarin when she was headhunted by Tesco direct from the Cabinet Office in 1997. Last year, she was elevated to Tesco's main board. Philip, now Lord Gould, one of Tony Blair's most trusted political advisors, helped reorganise Tesco's publicity and lobbying operation. David North was the Prime Minister's private secretary and special advisor on the environment, farming and GM foods. In 2002, he became Tesco's Director of Government Affairs. While it's not uncommon for people to move between the public and private sectors, Tesco knew that by recruiting former civil servants and advisors, it would have access to key figures in New Labour and Whitehall.
These are real first-class operators. David North, who used to work at Number 10, very sophisticated, very clever young man, and Lucy Neville-Roth, who of course knows the whole of Whitehall.
Labour MP Keith Vaz has criticised Tesco in Parliament on a number of occasions.
Companies like Tesco's are behaving like pit bull terriers.
They're very successful at dealing with critics. Whenever I put down a motion criticising Tesco's, I'm telephoned by one of their very clever people at headquarters who offers to come and take me out to lunch or have tea with me. They must be taking the order paper home into bed with them to know exactly what every MP is asking about.
Keith Vaz is not alone.
Isn't the reality that Tesco's is changing from a giant into a monster?
Labour MP Eric Martlew was surprised by what he saw as an attack on him. There was already one Tesco supermarket in his Carlisle constituency. In 2004, Tesco said it wanted to build another store. He opposed it. Eric Martlew found himself under fire in his local paper.
The Tesco spokesman came out and said, "Why is a Labour MP opposing us putting jobs in his constituency?" And this was a threat to me. This was about a year before the general election. They were really saying, he should back off. And when a company gets like that and gets that arrogant, then something's got to be done about it.
Tesco told us that it's totally ridiculous to suggest that the comments in Eric Martlew's local paper were a threat. Tesco already has 250,000 staff, making it Britain's biggest private sector employer. It has 2,000 stores and it's still growing.
I'm 100% certain that Tesco will be considerably larger and more powerful and more successful in 5 years' time than they are today.
When you look at the rate of store openings, the floor space they've got, every new market that they're gate crashing into. We're going to wake up in the not too distant future and we'll be living in Tesco land.
Take, for example, Stratford-on-Avon, bang in the middle of Middle England. Within a 15-mile radius of the town centre, there are 10 Tesco stores. And now Tesco is about to get 5 new customers. Meet the aptly named Shakespeare family. Sheila works part-time. Nick is a freelance car designer. They have 3 children, Sinead aged 10, Ewan 8, and 5-year-old Una. They're a pretty typical family, except they don't shop at Tesco's, at least not yet. For a month, the Shakespeares will shop exclusively at Tesco and will be setting up home virtually from scratch in a rented townhouse in Stratford-on-Avon.
Right, there we are. I think we can live for 4 weeks off Tesco's. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Some of it will be quite entertaining, quite amusing, and I think other elements will be surprisingly constricting.
My bed, my bed.
Before bedtime, they must buy food, clothes, bedding and everything they need to turn their rented house into a home.
There's no saucepans, no frying pans, no plates, cups, saucers, cutlery, crockery. I need to shop now.
Sinead filmed their spending sprees. They have been back and forth to the supermarket. Besides groceries, the Shakespeares are also buying new clothes. For the next month, virtually everything they wear from top to toe will come from Tesco. Like 13 million other Britons, the Shakespeares have joined Tesco's Clubcard loyalty scheme. Everything they buy is recorded on the company's giant database. With Clubcard, customers earn points each time they go to Tesco. The points are turned into vouchers. Spend £100 on your Clubcard, you earn £1 in vouchers to spend at Tesco. In return, Tesco gets information about you. In effect, you are being paid to give away highly valuable information about your shopping habits.
By building up a pattern of the things that you buy, they can know an awful lot about you, any little predilections that you might have, any little tastes. When you buy your contraception, the medicines you might be buying from the pharmacy, they can build up a terrifyingly accurate picture about you.
Tesco home phone, life insurance. We're going to go for a Clubcard credit card.
It's not just grocery shopping. By offering customers a wide range of services, Tesco builds up an even more detailed picture of people's lives.
This question is, what motivates you to lose weight? Health concerns, lack of self-confidence. Drinks per week, good Lord. I have to think about that one.
A Tesco subsidiary company collates all Clubcard information onto a vast database called Crucible. It works out the characteristics of individual shoppers and groups of consumers. This is what Tesco says about the Clubcard. In its annual report, the company says, Clubcard is a world-leading loyalty programme, which it certainly is. It helps Tesco better understand what our customers want, and it enables us to thank our customers for shopping with us. So that's nice. But under the Data Protection Act, Tesco also has to say who it's keeping information about and what information it wants to keep. These are the records for one of Tesco's companies, and they make fascinating reading. They want to know about your family, your employment, your finances. They also want to know about your race. They want to know about your religion. They want to keep information on your mental health. They're even interested in which way you're likely to vote. Despite its entry on the Data Protection Register, Tesco denies that it collects data on political opinions. Coming up, disgruntled councillors.
I've no doubt at all that they do bully councils and they do bully councillors.
And anti-Tesco campaigners.
Our lives will be made a complete and utter absolute misery.
While they were living the Tesco lifestyle, we asked the Shakespeares to find out as much as possible about Britain's #1 supermarket.
Tesco customer service, Mark speaking. How can I help you?
I'm interested in Tesco's environmental policy to do with specifically food waste.
Well, we've got life insurance, business card for business.
Tesco says its UK stores stock more than 7,000 local products and that they are expanding local sourcing programmes in selected stores throughout the UK. So Sheila's checking out how much local produce she can find in the Stratford Tesco.
No local growing flowers there, I don't think. OK, let's go and take a look at the fruit and veg.
Meanwhile, Nick's discovered Tesco offers services from the cradle to the grave. He's phoning customer services to find out more.
Just wanted to have a rough indication on how many tokens it would take to cover the cost of a funeral.
You'd have to spend over £40,000 in store on your club card.
40,000.
40,000, yeah.
Right, I better start shopping.
Sheila didn't have much luck with her local shop.
Right, these Tesco value ones, baby corn, and they're actually from Thailand. The apples are from Italy.
Not all the produce was from abroad.
Suffolk potatoes. Nice big flag on that. British salad.
But only one was truly local.
These green beans, these. Warwickshire.
So what is Tesco's definition of local? Is it produce grown in the immediate vicinity, the same region, or the same country? Tesco chose not to answer our question, but told us that it's looking to expand the range of local produce that it sells.
I don't think they've even got close to understanding what really going local means. So the way they're set up at the moment, there's not a hope in hell that Tesco's could meaningfully become a pro-local food shop.
Since New Labour came to power, Terry Leahy's Tesco has made sure it is close to government.
He's the important one. Tesco's a lot more useful to you than a Prime Minister.
Tesco was one of the first companies to commit itself to giving money to one of Labour's pet projects, the Millennium Dome. It handed over £12 million. By 1999, Leahy was already giving his time to 3 government task forces. Other Tesco executives were helping out on a further 4. And in 2002, Leahy was knighted on Tony Blair's recommendation. It was Leahy who had introduced Tesco's Every Little Helps slogan. It was hugely successful. Tesco's sales rose, its profits increased, and over the last 5 years alone, it has doubled the number of British stores under its control. But getting planning permission to build new stores is often controversial, and over the years, Tesco has put more than a few backs up.
They come at it from every angle. They'll target the councillors, they'll target the local community. They're fighting these campaigns all the time, day in, day out, whereas a local authority who has to deal with it may only deal with 1 or 2 of these a year, if that. So there's a huge imbalance being brought to bear.
Richard Kemp is Deputy Chairman of the Local Government Association and has served 25 years on Liverpool City Council.
Tesco's are far more predatory and aggressive than anyone else that I have ever dealt with. I've no doubt at all that they do bully councils and they do bully councillors in the way they go about things. This is a real David versus Goliath battle.
Even as a councillor for Liverpool, the 5th biggest authority in the country, Richard Kemp says he felt intimidated by Tesco's financial muscle.
As a ward councillor, I was faced with a problem that my constituents really didn't want an expansion to Tesco's, but we were being advised by our planning officers that Tesco's would take it to appeal, and we could be stuck with costs of up to £250,000. Now, that's a lot of money, even for a big council like Liverpool.
Tesco rejects the assertion that it bullies councillors. It cites a recent survey by the Competition Commission, which shows that more than half of planning authorities questioned denied that planning decisions are influenced by the potential cost of appeal. Martin Robeson runs a town planning consultancy. He helps one of his clients, Tesco, to find a way through the planning system in order to get stores where it wants them.
They've not taken their eye off the ball, and they've had a programme for growth. There's been difficulties with planning and other issues, but they've not let that, in a sense, slow their progress down. They've applied resources to overcoming those difficulties.
Tesco has also used its resources to make sure it has connections in all the right places. Tesco doesn't make direct political donations, but it does give money indirectly through sponsorships and by buying tickets for fundraising events. And in recent years, Labour has received more money this way than other parties. Obviously, by spending money like this, Tesco gains access to parties both nationally and at the local level. But sometimes it seems that when Tesco sponsors an event, it rather likes to influence it as well. Richard Kemp was invited to speak at a local government association event sponsored by Tesco. But then something curious happened.
I had a phone call from our chief executive saying that they'd asked to have me replaced as a speaker. The answer, of course, was no, but that's just an example of the way that they try and manipulate the system and get things done to the way that they want.
Tesco denies trying to remove Richard Kemp from the event. When he was Minister for Planning, Nick Rainsford met Terry Leahy and his senior staff on several occasions.
They come very well briefed, they know the case, they know what they want to achieve, they know very well the arguments that are going to be used against them, and equally they probably are pretty capable of judging where there is scope for compromise.
At the time, Leahy was complaining about planning rules which encouraged retailers to build new stores only in town centres. He told Nick Rainsford at one meeting he felt the policy was preventing Tesco from building the out-of-town stores it wanted.
And these were always very vital discussions, often with some pretty robust exchange of views. We didn't always agree. I remember one meeting with Terry Leahy when he left. My private secretary said to me at the end, "Now I know the meaning of the word hardball."
Despite pressure from all the big retailers, the planning rules remained, and supermarkets found themselves building more town centre shops and also opening smaller convenience stores. Again, Tesco streaked ahead of its rivals. Today, there are 756 Tesco Expresses. Many are in residential areas, and that brings Tesco into direct conflict with locals who don't want Tesco in their backyard.
Government policy is encouraging development in town and city centres where there's a much wider range of interest groups present. They're interested in how buildings fit into their communities, and you didn't get that 10, 20 years ago when one was promoting a site on the bypass.
Cardiff is a case in point. In two neighbouring suburbs, many of the people in the area are up in arms. Within 3 miles, there is already a choice of several Tesco stores.
This is a residential area. We do not want Tesco's here.
We don't need to force Tesco in this area.
No to Tesco.
In 1998, Tesco opened this store. It was one of the biggest Tesco's in Britain. Since then, it has opened this Tesco Express with a petrol station. And then converted this shop into another Tesco Express. Immediately, there were problems.
It's like living in a Tesco car park. 24 hours a day, 364 days a year. Our only day off is Christmas Day.
There were no parking facilities for staff or customers, and no off-road loading bay for up to 6 delivery trucks arriving every day.
It's been 2 years and they've done nothing.
We're just battling against a very large corporation, and we're just midgets.
The residents complained to their local councillor, who bombarded Tesco with photographic evidence. but to no avail.
Well, in my experience, Tesco's aren't a good neighbour. In fact, they're a neighbour nuisance.
Then, last year, Cardiff Council received an application to convert a former wine merchant into yet another Tesco Express.
There's a huge amount of opposition. Thousands and thousands of people have signed a petition against Tesco's opening here, but they seem intent on carrying on with their plans.
In October, the locals invited Jonathan Church, Tesco's Director of Corporate Affairs, and his colleague Julie McGutcheon to a public meeting chaired by the local MP. First on the agenda, the traffic congestion caused by the existing store.
One of their lorries pulled up on the pavement and almost crushed my wife and son. On a point of safety, are they still doing it, parking up on the pavements with the lorries? Yes, they are.
It's very dangerous.
We should have got this nailed, before, and I can only apologise that we haven't, but, I'm doing everything I can to get it sorted, and I'm sure next week things will have improved.
But the locals simply don't believe Tesco's assurances.
Please don't insult the intelligence of these good people in here by saying that you're interested in being a good neighbour. You're not interested in being a good neighbour. The only thing your company is interested in is making money, and you don't care what impact you have on the rest of the community or anybody else. So please don't offend our intelligence by pretending otherwise.
Next on the agenda, the proposed new store and its impact on local businesses.
We believe that the store in that area will actually provide a need. And people who maybe drive to one of our larger stores at the moment will actually decide not to drive to one of those larger stores and will actually do that shop in the local area. And what we find is when they do that, they will then often go on and use one of the other specialist shops. And we believe that actually those stores, our experience shows, will benefit as a result from Tesco.
You can't tell me that people are going to come down here, park in Tesco and walk then to other shops in the area. That's absolutely ridiculous.
It's not just the impact on local shops, it's also the inconvenience the new Tesco could bring.
Our lives will be made a complete and utter absolute misery by the noise and the disruption which is going to take place right outside my door.
We can make sure that there isn't noise when things are being moved around. Our staff are aware, they actually are respectful of the fact that they're in a neighbourhood.
There's no need for you to be here. You don't need to open one here. You want to open one here so that you can put all the other stores out of business, and eventually there won't be anywhere for anyone to shop except Tesco. And then we'll see where your low prices and your every little helps and your value for money goes to. There's no need for you to be here.
So I am asking for a show of hands in support of the proposed Tesco Express development on Birchgrove Road. Anyone voting for it? Could I have a show of hands for those who are against this development? So I think that gives you the clear message of the meeting, and I think the questions have also illustrated that.
Following a further meeting, Tesco withdrew its planning application and said it wouldn't be opening the new store after all. Tesco told us that it's now sorted out the traffic problems in Foreland Road. It's a small victory for local democracy for the time being, because Birchgrove Road isn't the only site that Tesco has its eyes on. Just 4 miles down the road is another site earmarked for a similar express store. Tesco says its retreat in Birchgrove Road shows that it listens to communities and never goes where it's not wanted.
That's quite hard to square with the community-based campaigns against them around the country, and that there are plenty of places where Tesco's are not wanted, but they're going ahead with their plans anyway.
Tesco is remarkably good at finding places to open new supermarkets. Last year, it accounted for half of the entire net increase in retail space in Britain. But Tesco has been so successful that some of its critics accuse it of buying land simply to block other supermarkets. Welcome to Slough in Berkshire, home of one of the largest Tesco's in Britain. For years, Tesco has been the biggest supermarket group in the area. In 2003, a co-op down the road went up for sale and Tesco had the chance to become even bigger. So Tesco bought the old co-op for £27 million. But with a large Tesco less than a mile away, the Office of Fair Trading stepped in and said the purchase threatened to stifle competition in the area. But Tesco doesn't give up that easily. It offered to do a deal. It said it would make a temporary move into the old co-op while its own store was being extended. Then when that work was finished, it would move back into its own store and the old co-op would be sold. Sounds fair enough. You can see that the new, huge, shiny Tesco is now complete. So who has taken over the old co-op site to compete with this? Well, this is where the co-op used to be, and as you can see, there's not much left. Tesco moved out and then knocked it down. Now, there are going to be 4 new retail units here, but only one will be a supermarket, and it'll be pretty small, about half the size of the old co-op and a quarter of the size of the new Extra. So the big Tesco over there isn't going to face much competition from anything over here. But Tesco insists the new development will actually bring more choice and competition, with shops selling both food and non-food goods. It's stories like this, coupled with concern that supermarkets are destroying the high street, that worried the Office of Fair Trading. It asked the Competition Commission to conduct an inquiry into the impact supermarkets are having. Last month, the Commission published its first thoughts. It said it's going to focus on competition between supermarkets at a local level.
Perhaps I could begin by emphasising that, although it may seem as if it is not actually an inquiry into Tesco, it is an inquiry into grocery retailing. Who wants to kick off?
Ben Lawrence from Dispatches. Were you surprised by the fact that so many people focused on Tesco?
They are the largest supermarket, so it's not unnatural that they tend to be associated with the practices of supermarkets generally.
One of the biggest concerns has been Tesco's land bank, sites which it already owns but has yet to build on. The other leading supermarkets fear Tesco's land bank is so big that the company could completely overwhelm its competitors. The inquiry knows all the land owned by Tesco and the other big supermarkets, but refuses to disclose any details.
And it is highly sensitive information. That puts a great responsibility on us to make sure that we don't actually ourselves distort the competitive process by putting information into the public domain that should not be in the public domain.
But Dispatches has obtained the information showing just where supermarkets plan to build new stores. And from that information, we've managed to build up a picture of just how powerful Tesco could become. We've looked at sites where a supermarket could build a new store big enough to do your entire weekly shop in one go. And the results are staggering. They reveal that Tesco alone owns land to build as much large supermarket space as all of its competitors put together. Critics fear it could become overwhelmingly dominant.
You can kiss goodbye to competition and you can kiss goodbye to choice. And we'll live with the lasting irony that under the promise of delivering consumer choice, we've actually taken it away.
Coming up, how Tesco is rejecting the government's food labelling scheme.
I think they've made a serious mistake. This is an own goal.
And why it's setting up companies in offshore tax havens.
This is too big.
You can always grow into it.
Soon, the Shakespeare children will be going back to school, and Sheila has kitted them out with new uniforms from Tesco.
Don't I look smart?
Tesco says it makes a massive contribution to education through its Computers for Schools campaign.
The scheme works on the Every Little Helps principle, bringing together people in a joint effort that delivers benefits for the whole community.
For 10 weeks a year, schools encourage parents to save up Tesco vouchers for a free computer. It's a textbook example of what's referred to among retailers as cause-related marketing.
Petition your parents. Bribe your brother. Sweet talk your sister. Nag your nan.
This clever ad appeals to family and community values.
And nobble your neighbours. To make sure they pick up their computers for schools vouchers when they're at Tesco.
In the last 15 years, Tesco has supplied 30,000 schools with IT equipment worth more than £100 million. The Shakespeare children are just some of the beneficiaries.
Bye-bye, darling. And you, off you go. Bye-bye.
Schools undoubtedly gain, but so does Tesco. It's great PR.
The more that they can do to align themselves with what are seen as unquestionably good causes, the more important that becomes to Tesco.
Tesco takes full advantage of the good publicity generated when the schools are presented with their new computers. And there are political benefits too.
Tesco's will invite the local Member of Parliament. I've done it on numerous occasions. So you get that relationship between the Member of Parliament and Tesco's. Tesco's like it because it will get their name in the local paper. The MP probably likes it for the same reason. But it is enlightened self-interest on behalf of Tesco's.
Even the most senior politicians are happy to be involved with such a good cause.
It's a fantastic scheme and it has been very, very successful.
Indeed, it is very successful, and it certainly helps Tesco's sales. To collect enough vouchers for just one school computer, parents have to spend around £250,000 at Tesco supermarket checkouts.
You've got to say that if Tesco's were really as committed as they say they are to the community and to the schools, why don't they just hand the stuff over? They're raking in £2 billion plus profit a year. They could afford to do that. And that's what makes you think that in cause-related marketing, it's all about the marketing and not really about the cause.
In 2005, with obesity high on the political agenda, Tesco launched Sports for Schools and Clubs.
Tesco Sport for Schools and Clubs. It's going really well. For instance, last year in Yorkshire they collected enough vouchers for over 2 million ping pong balls.
Celebrity endorsements for a good cause, like this by England footballer Frank Lampard, certainly enhanced Tesco's caring image.
And over 900 javelins. And with your help we can do even better this year.
So just how much does it cost to help? Well, to get enough vouchers for one football, you'd have to spend at least £2,200 in Tesco. And for a trampoline for the school hall, nearly £1 million. But remember, every little helps. No doubt, giving away sports equipment goes down well in Whitehall. But Tesco risks upsetting politicians on an issue which really could help tackle obesity: food labelling. Unlike Sainsbury and Asda, Tesco won't go along with the traffic light system which is recommended by the government's own Food Standards Agency.
High, medium, low. Ah. Ow! It's a new labelling system on packs of food.
The FSA and Which magazine have both done fully published research showing that shoppers find traffic lights the best system of labelling. But Tesco cites its own research which it says shows the opposite. It says that its customers find it easier to alter their diets with labels like these, ones showing guideline daily amounts of calories, sugar, fat, saturates and salt. Very interesting, says the FSA. Show us your research. Now, I have an email here from Tesco, and it says, we have shared all of our research findings with the FSA. Interesting that, because I have an email here from the FSA, and it says that it has been provided only with a selection of statistics and edited highlights from different pieces of research. So it's impossible to compare the Tesco research with the FSA's. We put this to Tesco, and it said it has discussed its research with the FSA on numerous occasions.
I am frankly astonished by Tesco, which is presenting itself as a responsible retailer, why it's taken this, I think, stupid approach to traffic lights. I think they've made a serious mistake. This is an own goal. They can't, on the one hand, claim to be socially responsible, but actually deliberately holding back from using the most socially responsible form of labelling, which is traffic lights. I think they're bonkers.
And it's not just over food labelling that Tesco isn't doing what the government wants. It also seems to be treading a fine line on an issue that's close to Gordon Brown's heart: tax avoidance. Leighton, East London. It's got Tesco over the door, it's selling Tesco goods. So it's obviously owned by Tesco, isn't it? Well, actually, not entirely. We found that ownership of this Tesco and many others can be traced back through a whole string of companies, trusts and partnerships. From here in Leighton, the paper trail stretches to Jersey and even to the Cayman Islands in the Caribbean. Why? Well, one reason is tax avoidance. It has a lot to do with stamp duty, the tax we all pay when we buy a house. For us, it's a few £1,000s we can't avoid. For big corporations, it runs into millions. But Tesco and the companies with which it does its property deals can afford clever accountants and lawyers who find legal ways not to pay. That's where the partnerships, trusts and offshore tax havens come in. We have trawled through hundreds of pages of property and company records. They show that Tesco has set up a string of companies in Jersey and the Caymans. Now, in 2003, Gordon Brown introduced a new stamp duty on commercial property deals, and since then, Tesco has done 3 big deals of its own. And by using perfectly legitimate legal loopholes, Tesco and its property partners could have deprived the Treasury of up to £45 million in stamp duty. Of course, Gordon Brown has tried to close these loopholes, but big companies always find new ways not to pay. So the tax avoidance game of cat and mouse goes on. And last year, that took Tesco back to the tax havens of Jersey and the Caymans. Bundles of British stores became part of a colourfully named array of partnerships and unit trusts. Meet Tesco Fuchsia, Tesco Blue, Tesco Red, Tesco Pink and Tesco Aqua. So why is this store in East London part of Tesco Aqua? Well, you can be absolutely certain it's got something to do with tax avoidance. Remember, for Tesco, every little helps. Tesco points out that it's one of the top 10 corporate taxpayers in the UK and that its shareholders expect it to carry out transactions in a tax-efficient way. For the Shakespeares, it's time to pack up. In the last 4 weeks, they've experienced a taste of what it could be like living in Tesco land. So what do they think of Tesco now?
I'm not sure I'd, sort of particularly shop in Tesco's. I think I'd be one of those people who'd just vote with my feet. And, perhaps that's not the right way to do it. Perhaps you should be jumping up and down saying, well, this isn't right, and writing and sending off emails. But I tend to think, well, I don't like what they do. I'll take my business elsewhere.
But if Tesco continues to expand more quickly than its competitors, it'll become harder and harder for people to vote with their feet. Millions of shoppers like Tesco, but many people at least want the choice to shop elsewhere. And that's why some groups want the Competition Commission to cut Tesco down to size.
It's a matter for the regulator. They should have not allowed Tesco to get so big. There's no point in complaining now. This great, huge whale shark, I think is a better description, has eaten up all the minnows. And now is very, very big indeed, and I don't think there's much you can do about it.
You can't allow a company to become bigger than the government, bigger than local communities. It can't be good for Britain. One company is such a hold over something so important as the food sector.
But for others, reining in Tesco would be nothing more than punishing success.
I'd be flabbergasted if the Competition Commission decided that Tesco couldn't or shouldn't grow any bigger. I think that would be a disaster for the UK economy. It would be a disaster for the whole idea of risk-taking and the reward that you get for hard work and for getting it right.
For more than a decade, Tesco has been Britain's most consistently successful retailer. But can that success continue? New Labour's Tony Blair and New Tesco's Terry Leahy rose in tandem. Now Blair is about to bow out. But will the change at number 10 have any repercussions for the all-conquering Tesco? Well, there are lots of people who would like to see it reined in. But luckily for Tesco, Terry Leahy is already very pally with the chap at number 11. In fact, Gordon Brown has chosen Leahy to become one of his 12 disciples, advising him on business. Tesco is a formidably efficient machine. It achieves ever bigger sales, ever greater dominance, ever fatter profits. And only the very brave would bet that the Tesco juggernaut is going to grind to a halt. We asked Tesco for an interview. It declined, but in a written statement it said,
"This programme recycles a series of myths about Tesco and paints a deeply false picture of our business. We speak to shoppers, staff and other stakeholders every day, and this is not the feedback we get. Our customers are our harshest critics. They do not pull their punches. They are demanding and they punish us by shopping elsewhere if they do not like what we do. We aim to act ethically in every situation, living up to our guiding values that no one tries harder for customers and that we treat people the way we like to be treated. To suggest otherwise is utterly wrong. Our conversations with customers also tell us that they don't leave their morals at the door when they shop with us. Yes, they judge us on our products, on our prices and on the service they get, but they also care about how we treat their community, our suppliers and the environment. When they weigh up all of these things, they make a decision on where to shop, and thankfully many choose Tesco. We want to keep it that way, which is why we will continue to listen, to consult and to change our business so that it keeps on benefiting customers and the communities in which together we live and work.
You can watch programmes from the latest series of Dispatches with 4 On Demand. Go to channel4.com/4OD. Next, high emotions and incredible stories as hypochondriacs face their demons. I told you I was ill.